Your film Kilomètre is a documentary, and it's a story of a family getting being reunited. But I need you to remind us a bit of the time and the context of when it was happening and where it was happening.
Sure. Well, the story took place at the very beginning of the full-scale war, at the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, back in 2022. And so at the first day, they actually plan to take as much as they can of our country, and they plan to take Kiev, as they said, in 3 days. They thought they can get to the very city center, and but they were stopped because it happened very, very fast, really, and it's still not. It's like a bit of a mystery how we actually could stop them back then. But the only explanation is people got united very quickly, and they organized some volunteer groups of fighters, and so they resist as one organism. And so my main character of the story, Roman Lyubyi, also was a participant in the small unit, which were briefly organized back at this first time of full-scale invasion.
So this really was a month, and it took place over a month, and it was a month of March mainly, end of February and March
Mhm.
2022. And Roman is a filmmaker himself. He's made two
Yeah.
films we know in our countries as well, the Iron Butterfly and War Notes.
Mhm.
And he is your main protagonist. And his family was in Irpin during this invasion, this month-long battle there. And he was in London at the time. And he came back and
Yeah.
tell us, what was he doing there? What did he do?
He was at a very interesting art business trip with a theatrical group from, well, I'd say it's like a cosmopolitan theatrical group, but mostly Belarusian. And he was making a video, like a video artist, for a political play called Dogs of Europe. And as he said, it's very, very symbolical as what's going on in the play and what's happened uh, with this all intense feeling before the whole thing started. So he thought he was doing the most important what he can in that moment. But of course, when his family actually were found themselves occupied, he only could imagine to return to the country. And of course, the most effective way to resist is like with your own hands and with your own presence.
So his family
As
lived in a big house, which is just on the border of the conflict, and that's his
yeah,
mom and his father and his wife and his little girl, and he came back and joined for a while this as an officer, surveillance officer in a unit there.
he actually was very useful because he knew the territory because he grew up there, and it's his home place. It's Irpin. He's from Irpin and lived there all his life until he moved to Kiev, and of course, I mean like childhood time. So he really knew and know the streets. And so he could navigate, and he was like a drone operator, but not like you know, controlling the drone, but deciding where they need to go to look for the Russian arms and uh, machines, well,
So
tanks
the,
and
the
all that.
drones, the drones with cameras were basically looking around there where they could see armaments or
Yeah,
people, wounded
like
people.
uh, intelligence, resilience, you know.
Yeah.
They were just looking at the dynamics, how they moving, and so he really was doing the best he could for his family by watching on them. I mean, watching the surroundings, and somehow he could be a bit closer and a bit feeling a bit safer with, you know, his presence, even with the small drone. But
So he was
at the
doing two things at once. He was doing surveillance work, and he was also keeping an eye on his family and what
yeah,
was happening with the house. And that's
exactly.
why the film is called Kilometre, because he was 1 kilometer away.
Yes, he was very, very close, and still, it was impossible to just cross it and just to come back because it was very dangerous. And so, for some time, they also should just stay there and not try to, you know, evacuate before it got a bit more safer to do, because otherwise it was very dangerous, very risky. And so they just stuck in that situation for some period of time, just chatting one with another. So supporting with this small conversation they had, and
But
and
you
film
see in
there.
the film, you see, you, sorry, you hear the conversations in the film, and he had a GoPro camera, and he films where he's walking and his colleagues, and you then found this material, you looked at it, and you decided there was a feature-length film in it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Tell us more about the development into a feature.
it just actually came to me as a proposition from Roman and from Volodymyr as well, a head of Babylon 13. It was just a material available for whoever can imagine something with it, because Roman himself, he tried to do something, but very shortly he realized that it's just too early for him and very personal, and it just
Too
hard for him.
emotional.
There's too many of his own, I think, actions, and yeah, it's I can imagine why it was tough for him. And so I took the material, and first it was like the idea was to make a short film, but I realized it's impossible to tell the whole uh, scale of the story with the short, because I just can't imagine it. You need to go like into the story, and also to see pretty interesting situations between them, between his uh, group and cinematographers also. I guess, yeah, that's how it actually was created, just
And you brought
because.
in some images that his parents took of his little girl from the house, videos of the little girl, and then animation that is your specialty, in fact. You
Yes.
used animation to put the context of what was happening onto the screen.
Well, I actually wish they were filming a bit more. They only took pictures, and not. I can imagine, you know, it's not very pleasant, I guess, moment to capture. So there were only pictures of them in this house, and animation. It's always a solution when you have not enough material, just to
Yeah.
get it more clear for viewer to understand, and especially when it's happening in like a map, you know, in like different parts and zones of one place. So of course you need to imagine the space a bit better, because otherwise they're just somewhere there, somewhere the danger.
Yes.
It was all to.
And the team he's in fact, included other filmmakers, the team of officers or surveillance people. And you dedicate the film to the filmmakers who defend Ukraine.
Yes, because it's at this moment there's hundreds of colleagues who fighting, who doing like this military job, not only fighting, but there's a lot of ways to be actively uh, present at the war. And of course, there's another very big list of people who already unfortunately died because of in fights. And there's least I can do for them is just mention, and we need to remember them forever, of course, and to give our honor with remembering all those events.
Yes, and it's a very strong film, and it's a an emotional film as well because it's about family. Um, it's also part of this collective Babylon 13, which was started after Maidan.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about Babylon to finish. Tell us about
Yeah,
the people involved and what they're doing,
uh,
why they're doing it.
I'd say it's a very unique, actually, uh, organization, a collective of cinematographers who gathered just right at the beginning of the Maidan and of riots and of this new era of Ukrainian history. And the reason for it was um, the need for sharing the information of what is going on. And so uh, those people, they were friends actually before, but all of them were, working at their different projects, commercials, or their own art. And but at that moment, they just united in this small group and discovered the way to actually work very, very quickly and to create these short sketches uh, as as fast as it possible, actually, to just spread what is going on right now, like yesterday at Maidan. And it actually worked out pretty good. So it's still there's still members from the very beginning. So of course it modified through time, but not that, as you can imagine, like for this amount of time. So
And they're
this,
building up all this material, film material, which can be used to make films, but can also be used as testimony if during war crime tribunals that will come in the future.
yes, I think it's documentation as it should be. Like you really capturing the history, and as much as you can do that, it's very important. And I guess there never will be too many of information about especially such important events. So it's very cool. I wish it might be even more active, so there would be even more information about people. And yeah, another important thing about Babylon 13, the main focus is on the people and on how people see those events. It's about not trying to really get you into the historical context. It's about how people really living through with the history. So it's
Yeah, that's
very,
really interesting. And your film contributes to this, and also contributes to this story of Ukraine now.
yeah, there's not too many information really about the war. So it's not like you may know how they were moving in
No,
particular. It's about how people really emotionally get through this.
yeah, yeah. Well, Hannah, thank you very much. Um,
Very much, Brigid.
Come to see your film.